in life. When someone has no hope in their life, they have no care for their future. Why should I set goals or plan for my future, they may say. Imagine a mind void of hope and care. What sense of purpose can this person have except one of possible harm or destruction to themselves or others? A sense of purpose breathes life into your thoughts, gives direction to your actions and meaning to your life. Imagine having no real reason to get out of bed or to go to work or even live. Your purpose in life is like an inner compass that guides you on your life journey. Finding your life purpose and your deepest life intentions can help you move through life with greater focus and clarity each day. With clear purpose in your life, you spring out of bed. Without purpose, your life and actions will seem meaningless. I worked with a couple whose children had left home after 21 years. They were lost. They felt empty. What will we do now, they asked. Their main purpose in life was looking after their two children, and now they had gone, there was a big space to fill. I guided them to a place where they discovered something new to be passionate about, which gave them a new sense of purpose. Their life had meaning again. It is only when you seek, discover, and understand what your life purpose is that you will set purpose-driven goals that will truly fulfill you. Ask yourself what you are good at, what you love doing, and what you feel you should be doing in your life. The answers to these series of questions are clues to your purpose in life. Living a purpose-driven life gives you focus and clarity. You may even find, like I have, your purpose is to make a difference to other people's lives as well as your own.
And welcome. Just a moment. Come on. Good evening and welcome. Just 1 minute. Yes, I'm here. Wow. Good evening. Well, good afternoon. I should say good afternoon to you rather than good evening. It's been a little while since I have graced this podcast. I took a little break during the Christmas period because I got that dreaded coronavirus. I have to say, it took me out, and yeah, it was an experience. But thankfully, true to my fitness and health, I was able to come through it. You know, the funny thing about this time is that this coronavirus has affected so many more people. But I'm here. I'm back with a new day and a new time, which is Sunday at 2 p.m. So that's the new day. I'll be back here every single week, you know, entertaining you with some really inspirational guests. And I've got some great inspirational guests with me today. So because, you know, as normal, it's the first time I've been back again. I'm just making sure that I am on all the platforms that I should be on, so we can start the show. Yeah, I'm here. I'm good. I'm absolutely good. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen, welcome to Make Health Your Habit podcast live. We have a really, really great show lined up for you. So, definitely looking forward to sharing with you today the information. So, ladies and gentlemen, look, this is the first show that I'm holding in the new year, and it looks like the technical bugs have got me already. It's absolutely amazing, and because I know that I'm running in slow motion, so forgive me for that. Again, I will sort that out. In 2020, we had a few technical itches, and today we have one again. But hey, we're just going to move forward with the show because we have a really, really great show lined up for you. Something that I'm really, really, really passionate about, as you know already. My field is about diabetes reversal, pre-diabetes reversal, and losing weight. And I do that through something called the L.E.A.N MindBody Method. And the foundation of that is a low carb diet. And I'm really pleased today that I have a great guest on with me today who's from the sunny islands of Jamaica. Yes, she's from the sunny islands of Jamaica. I'm not sure what time it is. It must be just after 9 o'clock in Jamaica. Just after. So I'm gonna, without further ado, introduce you to my guest today, who's, as I said, is from the sunny islands of Jamaica. Her name is Kelly Macintosh. Good morning to you, Kelly. Good good morning. So Kelly, just so you know, um, that there is a delay on there. So, people, you look wonderful, by the way. So people are going to be more listening to our voice. But, we're not going to allow the tech. We're not going to allow the tech to stop us because I know we got some great information to share with everybody today. So Kelly, I met you through your Caribbean Keto Tribe on Facebook, and very, I must say, it's a very, very active tribe, very, very active community, and the people you have on there really participate, and it's really great to hear the stories of people who have lost their weight and have, increased their health in so many ways. Firstly, Kelly, please just tell us a little bit about yourself, please. Just tell us a little bit about Kelly.
I was born and I grew up here in Jamaica. I'm currently 52 years old. I have battled with being overweight all my life. I have tried every single diet under the sun. Um, and when I tried, got success, put back on the weight, I struggle many people who are overweight are familiar with. And when I was 49, I decided to give it one more try. And I went to the one thing that had worked for me in the past, that was as the least painful option. And I started eating low carb. And it absolutely changed my life. Maybe something just clicked this time around. And I've been on this journey now for 3 years and 4 months. And I have lost a ton of weight. I feel the best that I have ever felt. And this time around, I don't know if it's age, I don't know if it's my own personal evolution. I decided to open up my weight loss journey to people. Weight loss tends to be very private and very personal. And this time, at the encouragement of my daughter, I decided to start by sharing the food I was eating because I was eating the most delicious food and losing weight. And she suggested that I open up and, open an Instagram account and share the food. And as a way to keep myself accountable. And since then, I started the Caribbean Keto Tribe on Facebook as a way to have a community of us who are from the Caribbean, who live in the Caribbean, to show that this is not a North American or a developed country fad diet. It is not a fad diet. It is a way of life that many of us are benefiting from. And I've also opened my mind and my heart to coach people who think that what I have done could help them.
So, so Kelly, tell me, how have you managed to, um, in a sense, um, challenge the yam, banana, and dumpling in Jamaica? Because obviously, my parents were from Jamaica. I'm from of Jamaican origin, and those were staple foods growing up: the yam, the dumpling, and the banana. They were just foods that had to be on the plate, especially if you was having some sore fish, a little bit of banana in the soup. That had to be dumpling. In a country with Jamaica with such a strong cultural heritage, especially around food, how was you able? How have you been able to get this message across? Because your whole message around low carb and is reducing some of the starches, which we'll talk about in a moment. How have you been able to get that message across, Kelly?
example. So people knew me before, people know me now. And when I would make ackee and saltfish or callaloo and saltfish or some stew pork, they say, "What are you eating that with?" Expecting to hear me talk about plantain and banana and yam. And I say, I eat it with a fork. I eat it with a fork. It causes a lot of reaction. But like I said, the best possible example, the best possible way to get that message out is example. Obviously, eating ackee and saltfish with a fork and without banana or without yam is working for me. So it is not easy. And the fact that yam and banana and dumpling play such an important role culturally in our cuisine, it helps to explain the prevalence of obesity, the prevalence of diabetes, because we are in a crisis in Jamaica and the Caribbean right now where those two are concerned.
So just curious, coming from Jamaica, I should have asked you the question before. How did you come across this low carb and keto way of eating?
Saying that I have struggled with weight as long as I have known myself. After I had my son, who is now 17, after I had him, I went to a used bookstore here in Kingston. I live in Kingston, Jamaica. And I saw a diet book, a used diet book for sale for about $1 at the time. It was the Atkins Revolution. So I said, you know what? Let me try this. Let me read this and see what this is about. And that Atkins book explained why we get fat, the impact of carbohydrates on our hormonal context, and suggested a way to mitigate that. And so after I had Nicholas, my son, I followed the Atkins protocol and it worked. I felt fantastic. I lost weight. But over the years, I allowed the carbs to creep back in and I put back on the weight. And by the time now Nicholas was 14 and I decided to give it one more try, I knew that I had to try low carb. By this time, the rage in all the literature was not Atkins, it was keto. And I did my research on the ketogenic diet and I thought, but this is exactly like Atkins induction phase. I knew that keto called for a little more fat in the diet than Atkins did, but by this time I also knew that the bang for your buck is not by adding fat to your diet, it is from pulling out the carbohydrates. And so that's why I joined keto. And I used keto because it was topical. People could identify with that. So when they say, Kelly, what are you doing to lose weight? I would say, oh, I've started the keto diet. And immediately they had a context. But what I was really doing was a very low carbohydrate diet.
I think that's a really important distinction because there are so many people who kind of convolute keto with low carb, which it is. It's just keto with just a lower carb version of eating low carb. And because there's been such negative press about keto, a lot of people kind of have this reservation about it. But I will tell you my journey, and I've said it so many times, my journey started after the passing of my mum and I put an incredible amount of weight. And very similar like you, I was looking for a way to lose weight that I felt would work and would be sustainable. And when I first came across low carb, I was quite nervous because it was counterintuitive to everything that I had learned in the past. But what surprised me is how quickly the weight dropped. And when I say quickly, I mean quickly. It just dropped off like it was butter because maybe because I was a disciplined person, but I kept on hearing stories after stories. And this was without any medication. And very similar to you, out of that has grown a passion to share it, to share my story. And as a health coach, I changed my whole practice around low carb. Now you mentioned diabetes. When I first started the low carb keto, I had no idea it had an effect on diabetes. I don't know if you realized that earlier on, but it took me a little while to realize that, this lifestyle I was living could not only help me lose weight, but also help my blood sugar. How did that realization come to your mind?
Eating low carb slash keto out of vanity, Ken. I'm not even going to play around. I didn't like how I was looking at 49. So I came for the vanity. And unlike you, this time around at age 49, my weight loss was slow. But you know why I stuck with it? Two main reasons. My son was then 14 and he was overweight and he needed help. And I knew that this would help him. So I decided, let's do this together. That was one reason. So I had an accountability factor. I had to help my son. Number two, I started feeling so good. My mental clarity, my sharpness. And I said, but I'm losing weight very slowly, but I'm feeling like $1 million. And I started to read. I started to devour anything I could because I am a curious person by nature. I need to understand what is happening. And so I started to read. And that is when I realized, but this way of eating addresses the root cause of so many things that bedevil modern society. It addresses the root cause of obesity, why we get fat, why we're always hungry, right? Why it's hard for women beyond a certain age to lose weight, why we have such high rates of diabetes, why diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and even Alzheimer's dementia all cluster together. It's the same root cause. And that's when I realized, oh my goodness, this way of eating is not for weight loss, it is for optimal health.
Kelly, I totally agree with you. And that was a realization. And I think that some people watching this will think, hold on a minute, this was supposed to be about weight loss or diabetes, but you mentioned PCOS. You mentioned, and we could even add cancer to that. And for me, this is a panacea. And this is a panacea for everybody. But because my mum passed away because I know diabetes and weight related condition, part of my journey and the legacy from my mum is to share this information to people of color. And I believe this is truly a panacea for people of color to be able to optimize their health, lose weight, increase their brain capacity, reduce the prevalence of diabetes, reduce the prevalence of blood sugar. It's just a challenge sometimes getting people to change the narrative in their head. Let's just show how before you started, how you looked. Let's see if we can get this up now. How you looked when you started your journey. So this is how you looked so this is you here on the left, and you're smiling so beautifully in the next session. You can clearly see. I mean, I do feel a bit, I can see the background, and yeah, it makes me feel like my background would be some damp or bushes, but you've got a beautiful background. So that was you. And here is another picture of how you looked when you lost some weight, again in your fitness exercise here. So you can clearly see the difference. And what a lot of people don't realize, especially those people who don't lose weight, is when you lose weight, it affects your whole, not just you physically, but it affects you psychologically. It affects your whole confidence. It affects the way you kind of engage with the world. And the one thing I love about eating low carb is its sustainability. Have you tried? Did you try different diets before low carb?
I did Slim Fast, where you have two shakes to replace meals and then one meal. And I hated it, but I did it. I hated it. I love food, Ken. I love to see the food. I like the colors. I like the texture. So having a shake that I can just down in 30 seconds was not cutting it for me. So I did it, I lost weight, but I can't live like that. So I put it back on. I did Herbalife, which was good. Again, there was some meal replacement components and the need to swallow a million supplements, which were big. And after a while, I would feel nauseous in trying to take the supplements. I tried the exercise route, eat less, move more. But if you are hungry and dissatisfied and you're trying to make change, you might be able to make the change, but you will never be able to sustain it.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're after.
Yes. I totally agree with you about that sustainability. Share with us here, let me just bring this up here, just so you can share with us. I have a meal now. I know you can't necessarily see what's on the screen at the moment, just because we tagged in. But I have a meal. I have some of your beautiful meal. It looks like cauliflower rice, oxtail, and salad. So you love oxtail.
I adore oxtail. Oxtail is one of my favorite things. And so I still cook it. I make oxtail. I leave out the beans. In Jamaica, we do
Yes.
the braised oxtail with butter beans or broad
Yes.
beans. That's a little higher carb than I would want because I'm still trying to lose weight. But I braise my oxtail with all the seasonings and the peppers and the ginger. And I have it with maybe cauliflower mash or cauliflower rice, and I do it with a cheesy vegetable casserole, and I feel zero deprivation.
That's what that is key, that you feel that zero deprivation. You also, within the meals you sent me, you also have it looks as if it's like a cheese pie.
Right.
What is that?
That one, Ken, is an ackee mushroom quiche.
Oh wow, ackee and mushroom quiche.
And ackee and mushrooms, and I've done it with ackee and bacon, but the ackee
Wow.
and mushroom is so good. And you cook up your ackees with the scotch bonnet peppers and the onions and the scotch and the scallion and garlic, and you saute your mushrooms, and then you bake it in a pie with the cream and the cheese and the eggs, and you top it with cheese, and oh, that is so good. It is a crustless quiche. It's almost like a frittata, but more dense and just like a quiche without a crust. It is fantastic.
Yeah, I absolutely love the way that looks, and I have to say I must try that one. So we have a pizza here as well. That it looks like a delicious look. Tell us what's on this pizza.
So the pizza base, to begin with, is a staple in the low carb community called fathead dough. It's made with cream cheese, mozzarella cheese, and a little almond flour and egg. And you mix that up into a dough. And I season that dough, of course, because I'm from the Caribbean, so we like our seasonings. I put a little garlic powder, a little oregano, a little basil, roll that out, bake it, and then I top it with whatever I love: fresh tomato, onion, sweet pepper, olives, mushrooms. Sometimes I put bacon on it. Sometimes I put ground beef that I've cooked up with plenty spices and more cheese. And that is one of my favorite low carb foods. It actually tastes better to me than regular pizza. It is seriously good.
It looks delicious. I have to say, it absolutely looks delicious. And I'm telling you that it really, really does. I cook pizza as well, but that picture looks absolutely delicious. So we have a plate here with some salad. It looks like some jerk chicken, another piece of oxtail, and some salads. And again, this really just kind of shows how easy it can be to use leftovers, because it's a
Absolutely.
great way with when you're doing the low carb. Some people say they don't have time to cook, but a great way to eat is by planning. You cook enough, and then you have extras for the next day or possibly even the following day. So I think this must have been a leftovers dish here.
I can't see it. It might be one of the Christmas plates that I did, because Christmas Day in Jamaica and the wider Caribbean is the biggest eating day on the calendar, and it might have been that plate where I did ham and fish and goat and chicken and so on. So there was a little of
Yeah,
everything.
it was that plate.
Right. So that was and by the way, before I talk about leftovers, for the last 4 Christmases, they have all been low carb. And I've had guests who didn't even realize that they weren't eating the normal carby side dishes. Right? I
And
did
everybody eat nice.
everybody eat and happy. From dinner right back to dessert. Trust me on that. Cheesecake and ice cream and rum cake and all low carb. And they didn't even know. But you made an important point, Ken. We all lead busy lives. Who wants to be in the kitchen all day, every day? Who has the time? And a lot of how I eat and my family eat, we have certain hacks. I would roast vegetables and then freeze some, and they reconstitute perfectly. Or you do a roast and you have the roast, you can freeze it. If you don't want to eat the same thing in consecutive days, freeze it and then take it out 3 days later and eat. Or use your slow cooker. I use my oven a lot because the oven is so handy. You just pop your meats and vegetables in, do what you gotta do, and then you come back and dinner is ready. So use your slow cooker, use your air fryer, use your oven, cook in batches, get containers, freeze, and you're good to go. A little planning goes a long way, and it is worth the effort. It is so worth the effort.
So that sounds absolutely lovely. So I know the dish that's coming up is a dish that some people will be very familiar with, and it looked like jerk pork to me. This looks like
Oh,
jerk
I
pork.
know the picture. I know the picture. So that day, I remember when I took that picture, I was on the road and I needed lunch. Now, typical Jamaican quick lunch is fried chicken with a lot of rice and peas and pasta, or you grab two patties. You know, the patty, the crust is like a meat pie that you guys have in the UK, but I don't eat those things no more. So I went to a jerk stand. Jamaica is the home of jerk. Jerk is the quintessential low carb food. We jerk chicken, we
Mm.
jerk pork,
Jerk
we jerk
everything,
sausage, we jerk fish, we jerk
but
everything. And
not jerk rice. You don't jerk rice.
no, we don't eat.
you don't you don't jerk the rice.
No, and I wouldn't eat that
Uh,
either. And that jerk pork, I just stopped. I bought the jerk pork and a bottle of water. And that was such a beautiful lunch. That jerk pork that day was very good, as you can see from the picture.
it looks actually it looks absolutely, and everything that we're looking at, all the pictures that we've been looking at are low carb, you know, everything. And the most wonderful thing about that is that I think that when a lot of people change their lifestyle, especially when they change their lifestyle diet, they feel they have to miss out. But do you feel that you've missed out on taste during your journey? A lot of rice. Mm. Yes. Yeah.
And guess what? As with any habit, the less you feed it, the weaker it becomes. So after
I love
two,
that.
three months,
Just repeat that again. Repeat that saying again.
the less you feed a habit, the weaker it becomes.
Yes.
And I realized that a lot of what we eat is habit. Why do you, if you're eating a burger, why do you need the roll on the burger? You need to carry it to your mouth, not because the bun tastes good. The taste of the burger is in the meat, is in the cheese, is in the bacon and the pickles, right? You
Absolutely.
just need that bread to come to carry it to your mouth. So ditch the bread and get a knife and fork.
Absolutely. I think the final picture I have here is one with an avocado. Very looks a very nice plate. It looks like an avocado and some green lettuce. Is it what is that meal there?
So that's trying to mimic like a fajita, where
Okay.
you have like strips of chicken breast. It could be beef.
Okay. So you was just was able to be very creative in 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 what you were doing and the way that you were making your food. And I think this is for me. This is why I've never felt a boring meal on this kind of lifestyle. And it's reversed my pre-diabetes. I would have been a diabetic by now. I know we're talking about, and let's look at the prevalence of diabetes around the world, but in Jamaica, but in people of color themselves, the diabetes is affecting people of color exponentially more than any other demographic, you know, and in this coronavirus time, diabetes is a comorbidity, which can exacerbate um, the vagrancies or the nefarious effects of the coronavirus. So it would be best for people to be able to deal with these comorbidities. So if they do get sick, that it won't affect them. I mean, I was sick over Christmas with the coronavirus. I don't have diabetes or blood pressure. I mean, but if I did have, I reckon I would have ended up in hospital. So, mm, mm, okay. Mm. And that's absolutely true. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize that. Uh, I don't think a lot of people realize how amputations are when people get diabetes. Can you just repeat that sentence you mentioned just a little bit while ago about the prevalence of diabetes in Jamaica, please? Just repeat that because your mic might have been off at that time. Just repeat about the prevalence of Jamaica, the diabetes in
So
Jamaica.
data from 2017 show that the top five causes of death in Jamaica are stroke, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and then the fifth one, interpersonal violence. So four out of those five have to do with lifestyle,
Mm,
specifically insulin resistance, which a low carb way of eating directly attacks. It is said that about 15% of Jamaica's adult population live with diabetes type 2,
okay.
and that there are many, many more who don't even know that they're diabetic yet.
Yes. Um, you know, can you let the audience know what insulin resistance is, please?
Sure. So we talk a lot about high blood sugar and diabetes, but by the time your blood sugar is so high that you have been diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, have been many years away from the root cause of that issue, which is insulin resistance. Insulin is a very, very important
Mm,
hormone that we cannot live without. It, among other things, it governs the metabolism of sugar that you get from sugars and starches. In the type 2 diabetics, in people who are overweight, in people who are hypertensive, and a host of other conditions that tend to cluster together, we who live with these conditions are typically what we call insulin resistant. It means our insulin is not as effective at what it ought to do. So we eat starches, our body senses a rise in blood sugar. It does what it's supposed to do. It secretes the insulin to break it down, but the insulin is not so effective. And so the body compensates by churning out more insulin. And what happens in the insulin resistant population is that we're left with two things: climbing blood sugar rates and a high insulin level. That high insulin level is what causes a lot of the grief in our health. Those high insulin levels tell the body to hold on to fat. So that's why it's hard to lose weight. No matter how you cut your portions, if you're eating smaller and smaller portions of carbohydrates and you find that you're still not losing weight, it's because your insulin levels are too high. Insulin is what we call a lipophilic hormone. It loves fat. It tells your body, hold on to the fat, especially the fat around your waist, around your midsection. It also, high insulin levels prevent you from feeling full. It interrupts the signals from vein to belly, telling you you've had enough. That's why you can't eat a half a bag of chips. That's why you go on till you eat the whole bag of chips. That's why you eat the pint of ice cream. But that's why you will never ever eat 2 chickens at a time, because the insulin that is secreted in the insulin resistant individual, when we eat the ice cream or the chips or the cookies, says, oh, it confuses the signaling between brain and belly. You're not full yet. Carry on. And high insulin messes with kidney functions. And when it messes with the kidney functions, you retain water, you retain uric acid, and when you start to retain water, guess what happens? Your blood pressure goes right up. And that's why insulin resistance is also at the root of hypertension, and why people with hypertension typically end up getting diabetes, typically end up getting heart disease and organ failure with time. It is so sad to hear of people losing their eyesight, having to go on dialysis, having to get kidney transplants because of a condition that is easily reversed by just choosing what foods you eat, and more importantly, what foods you do not eat.
Yeah, I think that was an excellent explanation there of insulin resistance. And you mentioned water retention, and this is the reason why some women are bloated. They feel very bloated and they put on weight. And this is one of the things that a lot of people first notice when they go on a low carb diet, is that release of water, because glycogen holds water, and a low carb diet helps you to be able to release that. But another thing you mentioned was uric acid, and uric acid leads to gout. And there are a number of people who have gout because of the uric acid, and if they just change their diet, it would help gout. Gout is it's not a very common thing spoken about, but it's something that really affects people who suffer from gout, who suffer from it, and it's quite painful. And just changing your diet can help. To a low carb diet can help with gout. And let's not forget the PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. I mean, so many women suffer from that in silence. And again, a low carb diet can help with that. And, you know, we've realized that what we're talking about is not just a weight loss diet. As you said, this is an all-round panacea to be helped. Now, there are some people who are watching this who's thinking, well, I don't eat meat. I'm a vegetarian, or I'm a vegan. What would you say to those people?
First of all, there are no rules, Ken. And I would say to that person, is what you're doing working for you? That's always my first question. Is being a vegetarian working for you? Is being a vegan working for you? And if it is not, then why don't you question it? Why don't you question it? If you're eating low carb, low fat, high carb, and all the whole grains and the fruit and all of this that we have been taught is clean eating, and it is not working for you, why are you continuing to do it? Why aren't you questioning it? The other thing I would say is, because I've worked with people who, for various reasons, would rather not eat meat, and but they would like to eat low carb. And I've worked with vegetarians, and the first thing I tell them is you can do it, but your options are going to be limited. But you can do it. But the central thing that I would want to leave with people is what you're doing working for you? And if it is not, why you continue to do it? Why do you continue to do it?
Yeah. I just, I love the Jamaican twang. I love the Jamaican accent. Isaiah, who was on the show, Dr. Isaiah,
Yes.
he's just written a message. He said, "Wow, I wish our doctors would explain to their patients." He says, he loves the way you explain that. And for anybody watching this on YouTube or Facebook at the moment, if you have a question for Kelly, please just put it in the chat and we'll see if we can get it answered. Don't worry, we're moving past the delay. You have the vocals. The vocals are on time. So just put the question. It's your opportunity to be able to answer the question. I want to add to the vegan and the vegetarian. You can do low carb as a vegan. I mean, as a vegetarian. Absolutely, you can. It's just that you have to search a little bit harder for your sources of protein and your sources of fat. As a vegan, you can also do low carb. It is preferable if you're an olfacto vegan, which means you eat eggs
Yes.
because you can get the protein from eggs. But still, I have vegan low carb recipes. So if you're someone who doesn't want to eat meat, don't let that put you off from a low carb,
Yes.
because the essence of a low carb, and I'm sure Kelly would agree with me, is about sugar and refined
Yes.
carbohydrate reduction. That's the
Absolutely.
essence of a low carb diet. So you're just reducing a lot of the sugar and the low carb, because I did have some slides to show you guys on this presentation, and it was something I used to do on a Wednesday, but I'm incorporating today, called Sugar Smash, and it was just showing you how the different sugar components of food. But because of the delay today, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to save it till next week. But invariably, we only have about a teaspoon worth of sugar in our bodies at one time, which is about 4 grams. But when we're eating the rice, when we're eating the potatoes, when we're eating the pasta, that rises it up. And often, not even just weight. I mean, I do corporate training where I talk about the carbohydrate crash and productivity. So I just want, if you're watching this, I want you to understand, whether you don't even have to be overweight. Going on a low carb diet will help your cognition. It will help the way you think. It will help the way you sleep. It will help you in so many ways outside of losing weight. So don't just see a low carb diet as something to be able to lose weight. Kelly, on your journey, tell me, what would you say? And I think I'm really pleased you were honest about the first 6 months. What would you say was the greatest challenge on your journey?
The greatest challenge for me at first was giving up the rice. It was hard because I really, really loved rice. But you know what, Ken? I very quickly stopped obsessing about the foods that I was no longer choosing to eat. And at the encouragement of my daughter, like I said, I decided to open up my journey, and I made a pledge to myself. I am a food lover. And I said, I am going to find the best, most delicious, low carb foods that I can eat, because I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to enjoy the journey. And it opened up a whole new world. I mean, I could always cook. I could always cook. I learned to cook from I was 10. My grandmother, my late maternal grandmother, taught me to cook. And the first thing I cooked as a 10-year-old was Jamaican steamed fish and stewed beef. So I could cook. And I made it a pledge for myself to find the best tasting, most delicious low carb food. And so instead of obsessing over what I was no longer eating, I focused all my energies on the possibilities.
Absolutely. I love that.
And it got, I mean, my husband would come home and he would say, boy, every night in here is like restaurant night because what new you have? One night it would be chicken and bacon in a cream sauce with stir fried cabbage. Another night it would be a nice beef roast with a salad with feta cheese. So we had moved beyond the typical Jamaican foods, which we still had, but it wasn't curry chicken and stew beef every night. It was quick stir fries. It was stir fries with cream and cheese. It was vegetables, roasted pumpkin. You know, Jamaicans just have this way to boil pumpkin and plop it in your plate. What is more boring and bland than that? But I discovered a way to peel the pumpkin and season it and roast it, and it would give you the same mouth feel as a sweet potato. So I just really focused all my energies on how am I going to make this work for me.
You know, I love what you just said there. I love the fact whereby you mentioned that you focused on what you were adding, not so much what you were losing. Because so many people think, oh, I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose that. You know, this week I've been adventurous. Like even today, just before the show, I made some jerk sauce, some low carb jerk sauce, and I got some little chicken wings I'm going to make. Some low carb jerk sauce. But this week I've made pizza this week, like similar to yourself. I've made even fish in batter, fish and chips in batter. And for those watching this on Facebook, you would have seen the pictures that I've posted, because I just try to show people the range and wealth of food that you can eat on a low carb diet. So you know, because I mean, I am 58 this year. You know, we are, as I said, no spring chickens. Women in particular, when they get to menopausal age, their hormones are affected. The progesterone, the estrogen, it just affects the way their body metabolizes food. And this is why a lot of women starting the perimenopause or in the menopause, wonder why they're putting on so much weight. It's not, you're not eating anymore. It's just that your body's metabolizing it different. So you have to do something different. And for me, I've learned what better than a low carb a diet. I don't know if you have any thoughts, or you could share any thoughts around
Oh,
that around Kelly.
absolutely. Like I told you, when I started this journey at 49, my whole weight loss was way slower than it had been in my 20s, 30s, and even up to my early 40s. And I have worked with women at middle age who they come to me frustrated. And when we look at what they eat, they're following all the standard guidelines. They're eating all this fruit. They're eating the whole grain, so-called whole grain cereal, low-fat yogurt. They might eat a little quinoa and chicken breast, and they're unhappy, and they're fat, and they're not losing weight. They get it. Their brains are foggy. And when I explain to it is hormonal. It is not caloric. It is not about the how much you eat. It is about the what you're eating and the impact of the what you're eating on your hormonal context. And I say, let's just tweak your food choices so that they work for you. Let's tweak those food choices so that they cause your hormonal environment to come into alignment, led by the master hormone insulin, which also governs the balance of female sex hormones. And let's see what happens. And inevitably, when they start eating the eggs and add a little more cheese and bump up the protein, I say prioritize protein, ladies. Don't be afraid of it. Eat the meat. And when they do that and they leave out all that sugar from the fruits and they leave out all that cereal and yogurt, that wasn't even satisfying them. How can you eat a meal of cereal and yogurt and feel happy? You need your meat, you need your cheese. And when they start making those small changes, they are amazed at the mental clarity that comes, the shrinking waistline, the loss of the bloating goes, and the skin improves and the weight goes because we have tweaked their food choices to modify their hormonal context so that their bodies come into alignment. I see it over and over and over again.
Look, but Kelly, people say that I'm passionate. I can, there was a delay. There was a delay in the video, but I feel your passion, Kelly. I love it. I feel it. I really feel. I absolutely love it. We are gonna connect. We are definitely gonna connect and do this again. And we're gonna sort this out. I really feel. And I love the accent as well. So Kelly, we spoke about your most challenging. Tell me the greatest high you have had, either with your own personal high or with a client during your low carb time.
Okay, so every single time a client tells me that, Kelly, I never knew what it was like to not feel hungry, and I no longer feel hungry every minute of the day again. That makes me want to just scream and jump around, because that's putting you in the driver's seat with your relationship with food. And I've had that happen time and time again. That makes me scream out, because no longer are you addicted, no longer are you at the mercy of, you are in the driver's seat. You decide when you eat. So that never gets old. The other ones that really make me feel good in general are when a client says to me, I've come off my blood pressure medication. I've come off my diabetes medication. It happens. And I'll tell you two specific instances. This person wasn't even a client of mine. She's my cousin, and she lives in Canada. And she's my age, and she has been diabetic for as long as I have known her. She has lost toes. She has lost some of her eyesight, and she was severely overweight. She just followed my posts on Instagram and followed my blog, and she wrote to me and she said, "You are my health angel. I'm off my meds. I have lost over 60 pounds and my life has changed." I wanted to cry, Ken. And the last one is my son. And I'm trying not to cry now, because my son was 14 when I saw the light dimming in his eyes. He was overweight. He was a high achiever in every area of his life, but he told me, "Mommy, I do not have an off switch when it comes to food." And I said to him, "You're not a fool. You're not weak. You're not greedy. We're going to find that off switch. There's something malfunctioning, and we're going to find it." And I spoke to him and said, "Let's do this low carb journey together." 3 years and 4 months later, my kid is a 6'2", 17-year-old boy who had to come to me a year ago and say, "I need to put back on some weight."
That deserves definitely a round of
And
applause.
and Ken, he has his own exercise habit now. He has gained about 15 pounds of pure muscle, and he leads an active, healthy lifestyle. He cooks for himself. He understands. And when the first time we were able to buy his clothing off the rack, because all his life he had been big, and so we had to get his clothes custom made at a tailor. And the first time we were able to go buy his school uniforms off the rack, he came to me quietly after we came home and he said, "Thank you, Mommy, for changing my life." That, that, that.
Kelly, I really appreciate you sharing that last story, and I could feel the poignancy in your voice, and what more wonderful legacy to a testament to our journey is when we can help someone we love. And yeah, I often say to people, I wish I knew the information I knew now when my mother was alive. And, I did my best when she was alive, but to help her lose weight, but I didn't have the knowledge I had now. If I had the knowledge I had now, I'm confident I would have prolonged her life, because I would have been able to give her the food she enjoyed, but just restrict the carbohydrate. So I'm so pleased that you're able to do it in your time, and I could tell that was really, really emotional. Now, Anne-Marie's asked about some books. We're going to talk about a couple of books in a moment. Just if you just give me I just want to tell people, because I have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm not going to show it. But I just want to let people know that if they are interested in learning about low carb, I have something which I call it's tribe. It's 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 a community that I'm building, whereby you can help you lose weight, reverse your diabetes, and lower your HbA1c. There is so much resources on there that can help you and advise you on your low carb journey. There's a community on there, and there's also a 7-day trial which you can make use of. So if you are interested to learn a little bit more, and we're going to talk about Kelly's group on Facebook in a moment, just visit leanlifestyletribe.com. Just visit that website and you can learn about Tribe. It's a 7-day free trial, and then it's only $14.99 a month. I've actually reduced it again this year. So $14.99 a month. And my aim is to build a community of people like myself and Kelly. There was a big focus on Caribbean food there, but there's a wealth of other things. But it also focuses on sleep, and it focuses on exercise and mindset as well. So really, I'm really passionate about that. And, you know, if you can also find out about my book and everything else that I do. But if you go to the website as well, there's also this low carb 5-day meal plan recipe, which you can get free. All you have to do is register on my mailing list, and you can get this low carb 5-day meal plan recipe. It includes like garlic trout, jerk chicken. It has my jerk sauce recipe in it as well. It has jerk salmon. Well, not jerk, curried salmon. There's a shopping list. It's absolutely free. Just go to leanlifestyletribe.com. Go to that website, register for the website, register for the mailing list, so to speak, and then you will receive this free, wonderful 5-day low carb in your inbox. You know, I'm really pleased to say that next week on the Make Healthy podcast, live podcast, I'm going to have Fitz Gaines. This is a guy I've admired on Facebook for so many years. He's going to be here talking all about exercise, and his perspective on exercise, I think, is going to be a little bit different to what a lot of people may imagine. So next week, Sunday, I'll be here with Fitz Gaines sorting out this delay. So just want to let you know about a couple of things there. So go to the website, leanlifestyletribe.com. If you like what you see, join Tribe for the 7-day trial, or otherwise just sign up for the 5-day meal plan and just experience some of the foods me and Kelly are speaking about now. Now, Anne-Marie Tracy asked about some books. I am going to recommend a couple. I don't know if there may be some that Kelly has, but there are two that I found really. One is Why We Get Fat by Gary Taubes. I found this to be a really, really great book, Anne-Marie. Really, really great book that can help you really demystify low carb. And the other one was The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teljalt. It's another great book. So those are the two books I like to recommend to people when they ask you about low carb. Kelly, are there any books that you particularly recommend to people when it comes to low carb?
Absolutely. The first one I'd recommend is Why We Get Sick by Dr. Benjamin Bikman. That's an excellent, excellent book recently published that goes to the root cause and explains why we get fat, diabetic, hypertensive, all of those conditions together, and how eating low carb addresses the root cause. And the other one is, especially if you are a type 2 diabetic, check out The Diabetes Code by Dr. Jason Fung.
Very good book.
Excellent book. Those two I'd highly recommend.
Yeah, Very good books. Absolutely, I totally agree with you, Kelly. Those two books are absolutely. Diabetes Code is a really really good book
Very good.
by Jason Fung. So Kelly, we just people are listening. Just think of three tips or three things you can say to anybody who maybe have listened to you, felt your passion, and said, you know what, I might want to give this a try. What three tips would you give them as a takeaway from this? And take in consideration, you may be talking to someone who has high blood sugar or maybe a diabetic.
Yes. The first thing I would say is challenge your mindset and look at it as a trial. Look at this as an experiment. That's how myself and my son started. We said we're going to give this 30 days, just 30 days. You can do anything for 30 days. And so for 30 days, we decided to cut out the starches and the sugars. And then at the end of 30 days, we assessed, was this making a difference? Did we like the difference it was making? Let's continue for another 30 days. So it was never like a life sentence in our minds. It was always, let's try this. Let's give it a really good shot for 30 days. So try it. If what you're doing is not working for you, try it for 30 days. And then having made that decision, start to plan around it. Use your oven, buy prepared food. You can buy rotisserie chicken, you can have eggs, you can have tuna, ground beef, all quick, easy, budget friendly, low carb options in your house, and drink more water. At the very least, cut out added sugars and cut out food that comes out of a box or a bag. Cut out the processed food, cut out the added sugars. Eat real food, plan, make a decision, experiment for 30 days and see how it feels.
That's some great advice to people, and I always encourage people to make this a lifestyle. So as you said, in your first 6 months you stumbled. Don't worry if you fall off the track. Just get back on, because it's the lifestyle that you want to recreate, and behavior modification can be quite challenging. But just be focused on the goals, be focused on where you want to go. Kelly, I have really enjoyed our conversation, and we haven't allowed the delay to stop the quality of the content. I will work out again what this delay is, but the audio has been absolutely clear. I'll just be real with everybody. Sometimes it happens. It's happened a couple of times, but yeah, we will sort it out. But I do think that people have been able to still gain so much from you, and not just learn so much, but feel so much. And I say that honestly, I feel it. I feel your passion. I feel and what's great is you have an in-depth knowledge. So I'm definitely want to invite you back on the show, because the Lean Mind Body Method is which I focus on. The foundation is low carb, but that is the foundation. But there are also three other aspects which you kind of touched on. The first one is sleep. Sleep is an incredibly important part of your well-being, but it can also offset some of the positives of eating well. So I'm going to discuss that. Exercise is great, even though you don't need exercise to lose weight, but
Yes.
it definitely helps to enhance your
Yes.
well-being, and it can also help control your blood sugar. But
Yes.
but even more importantly is the mindset, and you totally understand that. So I'm definitely very soon we're gonna sort everything out. We're gonna bring you back on this show,
Okay.
and we're gonna go deep. So we're not. So we've just gone around the surface here, but we're gonna go deep. Me and you are gonna take it there. All right. So that's
Okay.
gonna happen very, very soon. So, Kelly,
Okay.
people listening today and have obviously been inspired may want to reach out to you, find you, join your community. Please share with us how people can actually do that.
So the first, thank you, Ken. The first place, you please feel free to check out my blog. There's a lot of great free information on my blog, and there's also a contact page if you want to email me or WhatsApp me. It's on my blog. My blog is Kelly, Kelly, Kelly at kellycatherine.com. That's my email address. The blog is simply kellycatherine.com. Catherine is Katharin. kellycatherine.com is my blog, and my email address is kelly@kellycatherine.com. And we also have a wonderful, wonderful support group on Facebook. It's open, it is free to join. It is called the Caribbean Keto Tribe. Just search for Caribbean Keto Tribe, 3 separate words on Facebook. And it is a safe space of the most wonderful people who eat the most beautiful, wonderful low carb foods, and they're changing their lives.
Lovely. That is absolutely fantastic. So Kelly, listen, I really want to thank you for taking the time out to be on the show. I was really excited about this show. You didn't disappoint me. As I said, I've said it all before, I love your passion. We will definitely speak again, and we're going to go really, really, really deep. So on behalf of everybody who's watched this there, I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge and your passion, and I pray that you continue to change people's lives. All right, so I'm going to speak to you in just 1 minute, Kelly. Let me just close out this show. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, 2021, and yes, the kind of tech demons got to us with the delay, but hopefully the sound has been informative and you've learned so much. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to on YouTube and ring the bell and press the bell so you'll be notified when the next show, which will be next week. If you're watching this on my Facebook page, then again, please like that page. I'm going to be here with you every single Sunday at 2 p.m. for 2021, sharing with you things that can help you make health your habit. The main focus is obviously on sugar and refined carbohydrate reduction, but we're going to cover a range of things that can make you healthy. And we'll be here every single week. So join me before you eat your Sunday dinner. Season up the meat, maybe before the show, and then sit down, watch the show, then put the pot on, or maybe put the pot on while the show is going on. Let it simmer, So we do that. But Sunday, it's a new day, new show, and then next week we'll be back with the new features, the Sugar Smash, showing you just how much sugar is in the food that you eat. So all that leaves for me to say is, listen, thank you very much for taking the time out to join me on this first Sunday in 21. It was an absolute pleasure being here. I will be back next week, 2 p.m. with Fitz Gaines, talking about exercise and how you can become really fit in 2021. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you today. So until the next time, remember, make health your habit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember to make health your habit. What I'd like to say is bye.